Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Cozy Mystery Mingle. I'm so excited because today we have Paige Shelton with us. Hi, Paige.
Hi, Lisa. Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for having me. It's great to be here.
And we were just talking about how popular her name is because I love the name Paige. It's so young and fun. And yeah, I'm jealous of the Paige name.
I'll take anything that mentions the word young. So thank you so much.
Well, let's talk about, tell us a little bit about you and then we'll get into your book.
Okay, that sounds good. Well, I've written quite a few books. I think I haven't counted, but I think I'm close to about 30. Most of
Wow.
them are cozy mysteries. My first book was published in 2010, and that was the Farmers Market Cozy series. So Farm Fresh Murder was the first book. That book actually hit the extended list on the New York Times, which
Oh,
was very fun and very exciting, and of course very shocking. So that was a lot of fun. But fast forward now, I'm still writing cozy series, but I also have an Alaska suspense, more suspense-ish series.
mhm.
I've heard some people call it cozy thriller, but I kind of like that. I think that kind of makes sense. A thriller, but a little less frightening.
Good. Yeah, I was just talking about this. I can't remember where. I think Tracy Andrew got it. We were saying like all the cozy mystery authors who kind of break the rules and are doing something fun and new, they're the ones that are the popular ones. Like everyone wants something a little fresh.
I think that's a really good point. I think that the cozy world is expanding and going in many different
Mhm.
directions now. I think that it's taken on a little bit of a different spin. I think it's okay to have a mystery series where the gore, the blood, and the guts and things are off the page, and the mystery can sometimes be more fun, and
Mhm.
I think that's really expanding, and there are a lot of different options nowadays. It's continually growing.
Yeah, and I think, otherwise it's kind of like, I don't know, did you see the Nancy Drew TV show on CW?
I didn't see that show. I saw the Nancy Drew show back when I was younger.
Oh, okay.
Um, it was, let's see, who was the actress? I can picture her in my head, but I can't remember her name. Maybe Pam something. I don't know, but I used to watch that. But I have missed the CW one. I should
Okay.
watch it though.
So,
Yeah,
well, I don't know if you want to watch it. So here's, I grew up, you probably grew up reading Nancy Drew, right?
absolutely,
Yeah,
every
I
single one.
love those
Yeah,
and the Hardy Boys and the crossovers with them. So
right.
I'm so excited for the CW show, and they open it with she has a one night stand, right? And I was like, whoa, what is Nancy doing?
Hang on, Nance. What's up there?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So they were saying, and I think this is true, they're like, we really need to change it up to appeal to a younger audience. They don't want the same things that the other generations had. So,
Oh, I think that's absolutely a very good point. And I think, there's room for everything, no
mhm.
question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's still room for the old stuff too.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
So, why don't you tell us a little bit about the Poison Page, which is book 9 in the Scottish Bookshop Mysteries?
Right. So the Scottish Bookshop Mystery started with The Cracked Spine.
Mhm.
And basically, the premise of the series is Delaney Nichols is a young woman who grew up in Kansas and was working and living in Wichita, Kansas, and got laid off from her museum job. She would archive things. She wasn't necessarily an archivist, but she would do whatever the museum needed. But she got laid off. So one night, she's scrolling the internet looking for something to do, jobs to apply for, and she finds this fabulous ad that says, "Would you like an adventure? Would you like to work behind the desk of kings and queens? Come to Scotland and work in my bookshop." Well, she
Mhm.
she obviously could not resist, so she applied, spoke with the owner of the bookshop the next day on the phone, and suddenly was transported back over to Scotland and started her new life over there, where she has been an integral part of the bookshop, but she's also been very involved in solving murders. So the poison pen is the ninth murder that she has had to come across and solve. And in each of the Scottish Bookshop books, I put a little bit of Scottish history. I always
Mhm.
try to go with something different, uh, perhaps the William Burke and the Killers,
Mhm.
and I go through different things. But anyway, the one in the Poison Pen is about royalty, British royalty. So the Queen, when I first started this book, the Queen had recently passed, and Queen Elizabeth II, and her birthday was just a couple days ago now. But anyway, so she had recently passed, and I thought, Delaney living over there, and I know she has a fondness for the Queen, and she would be mourning the Queen.
Hmm.
So it starts off with her mourning the death of the Queen, and she and her bookshop family friends they all feel the same. They're very sad about the Queen, but this somehow leads her into a place where perhaps a woman has some ties to the British royalty, maybe illegitimate ties, but some
Hmm.
ties that must be discovered and uncovered. And a murder happens along the way, and a relic, an old sword shows up, and it becomes all very mishmash, but then comes together, and they all are tied together toward the end, and the murder is solved.
All right, nice. And also, I just want to say, I think it was like a nice, refreshing change to not have someone get a letter that a relative you've never heard of died, and then you inherit. Like, this was nice. It was like a nice new spin. Like, we could do
Oh,
something different, right?
thank you, I appreciate that.
Yeah. And so let's also talk about, why did you pick Scotland versus, I don't know, Paris, London, anywhere in the world?
Well, I wanted to travel to Scotland. I was dying to see Edinburgh. I was dying to see Scotland. I really wanted to see Loch Ness. So I thought, okay, well, I was at kind of a crossroads in my writing. I'm like, what do I want to do next? Where do I want to go next with a
Mhm.
series idea? And I thought, I would really like to see Scotland. If I write a series about it, I can write off the whole trip tax wise. So that's exactly what I did. My husband, my son, our son, and I took off for Scotland, and I had like a 7-page list of things that we needed to figure out and find so
Mhm.
I could start this series. So we hit the ground running, and we got everything seen and everything found. We even made it up to Loch Ness, and got to you know we might have seen the monster. I'm not sure. There's always possibility. But we had a fantastic time, and so that gave me the opportunity to begin this new series, and I did get to write the trip off, because research, what
Right.
can, what can you do? So that was really why I chose it. But once I was there, I figured I had made the perfect decision. I mean, you cannot find a better place for a mystery setting amongst bookshops than Edinburgh,
Mhm.
Scotland. I mean, it's perfect. There are so many bookshops. They are all exactly what you think. They are all charming. They are all crowded. Many have cats. They're just perfect settings for people who want to read something that maybe is a mystery, of course, is a murder mystery, but has that cozy feel about it.
Nice. And was there a bookstore in particular that you loved that you modeled this one after?
Not really. I kind of modeled the cracked spine, after many different ones that, a bunch came together. But
Mhm.
in the location where the bookshop is in the books in Grass Market, there is a bookshop, or there was back when we visited. And it used to be an old bank, as the cracked spine in. On the back wall is a stained glass scale with
Mhm.
coins you've got, and spilling over. So I did take that from that bookshop, but the rest of everything else, and the other side of the bookshop, the dark side where the secret warehouse room is located, is
Mhm.
completely made up.
Mm, very cool. All right. And so, sorry, back to the book. So, this
Sure,
is book
sure.
nine. Can
Yeah,
readers just jump into book nine without reading one through eight?
absolutely. Absolutely. No question. In a series, you always would like to. Some people can't. I mean,
Mhm.
most people can jump right in and read right from there, and it can be kind of a standalone. You try to drop enough nuggets in there so that there's some background as to the characters. But if you don't start at the beginning, you are absolutely missing the full arc of the character's story. In each story, Delaney's family, her Scotland family, is her landlords, the people she works with at the bookshop, her absolutely adorable husband, Tom. The arc of their stories, and learning about them, goes through the series, and each of her family members is a part plays a different part in each series. So, for instance, in The Poison Pen, Elias, one of her former landlords, he actually plays a very big part in this book, but he hasn't really been around for a couple of books. In the book that comes out next year, Tom, her husband, has a very big part, and he hasn't had quite a big part yet in this series. So next year's book will have him. So yes, you can read it alone, but you are missing out on some of the story arc.
Okay. Well, I guess what would be good to know, like a who's who and what's what, just going into book 9, because sometimes
Well,
they're
sure.
only available out of order at the library.
Right, exactly. So knowing her Delaney's backstory, when she first went to Scotland, she moved into a home being rented out by Elias and Aggie, and they are still close friends. And she did meet Tom there. And I mean, spoiler alert in book 9, they are married, but they got married a few books back. So sorry
Mhm.
about that if that's a spoiler. But so Tom is a bartender and a pub owner, actually, a pub owner, and he wears a kilt very nicely. That's her husband, and her bookshop family is Edwin, who is the owner of the bookshop, an elderly gentleman who has been around money for a very long time, but
Mhm.
does a lot of good with his money. Her grandmotherly coworker is Rosie. She's a feisty spirit and she's fabulous and she keeps things straight in line. She is the one who is in charge of Hector, or Hector is mostly in charge of Rosie. Hector is a little miniature Yorkshire Terrier who
Mhm.
comes to the shop with Rosie and lives with Rosie. But everybody loves Hector. And then there's Hamlet, who is the 20-something, very artistic college student whose ties to the bookshop are an integral part of a couple of the stories. So I'm not going to give a lot of that away, but he's been around a while and he had a rough upbringing.
All right. Perfect.
Yeah.
And let's just talk about how magical this bookstore is. So, I mean, she gets there. It's all expenses paid. She has a free place to live. Rosie can bring her dog to work, and Hamlet can go. He's going to school, right?
Right,
Or
right.
okay,
At the university.
yeah. And so it's like this flexible, wonderful place, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's completely fictionally magical. Absolutely, no question, no doubt about it. The dog can come to work, no problem, and people kind
Mhm.
of can come and go as they need to.
Right.
Delaney can take off and go solve a murder when she needs to. There's a lot of artistic license taken, no question.
All right. And so in book 9, once we're here, she's still happily working there.
Yeah.
Tom is still working across the street.
Yes, yes, up
Okay.
the street a little bit in Grassmarket, right at the pub, which is called Delaney. The reason she thinks they were meant to be together when she first found the pub, it's called Delaney's Wee Pub. So
Mhm.
it had nothing to do with her, Delaney, but it was her same name. So she was intrigued by
Oh.
that. And it's the smallest pub in Scotland. And located there in Grassmarket, in that same location that I use for the books, is the Wee
Mhm.
Pub, which is the smallest pub in
All
Scotland.
right. And then I should probably stop. It looks like you have a fan that's here.
Oh,
Karen says hi. Tasha,
okay.
hi.
Hi.
And lovely to be here. I'm originally from Scotland and live
Okay.
here. I also spent many years in New England, the southeast corner and the southwest. I forgo my own writings to read her books. Oh, that's nice.
Oh, that's very nice. Nice. Thank you very much.
Yeah. And she also says not just Edinburgh, but Edinburgh, most of Scotland was quaint bookshops. Wigtown is known as Bookshop Town. Oh,
That is very true. That is
I
very,
know
very
that.
true. I did kind of leave that out. Yeah, there are just bookshops everywhere. It's absolutely fantastic. It's
And you made it to
a book
Wigtown?
lover's dream.
Yeah.
No, I did not.
No.
I did
Okay.
not. But I do know about that. It's just a book lover's paradise, no question.
Very nice. Oh, and we should also talk, and maybe this is just because of me. I'm not really sure. I didn't know. So you started talking about royalty and
Uh-huh.
I'm back to book 1, right? I didn't realize that the Scottish royalty, and it seems so obvious now, was the British royalty. They're one and the same, right?
Well, over the years, the Scottish people, and forgive me if for those of you who are history scholars, I know just enough maybe to be dangerous, but yes, there was Scottish royalty and British royalty, and for many years, there was fighting, and this land, and I mean, Mary Queen of Scots was in Scotland, and
Oh.
so there was Scottish royalty. But there is currently, British royalty, and, for instance, I was talking in this book, in The Poison Pen, I talk about
Mhm.
abdication. I talk about Edward's abdication. The what I learned when I was a child was he left the throne for love, but there was obviously a lot more to it. But as I was researching abdication, I found back 300 and something BC, I believe the king, he was so ineffective that Robert the Bruce actually fought him and fought on the side of the English people to get rid of the Scottish king. So there has been so much fighting and so much, sadly, bloodshed over the centuries between
Mhm.
them. But in the poison pen, the royalty that I am talking about is the British royalty and Queen Elizabeth, and how her life to become the queen would probably have been that way anyway, even if Edward hadn't abdicated. So.
All right. Well, okay. So that makes more sense. So British royalty is the Scottish royalty. It's all one and the same because it's United Kingdom.
It's United
Yeah.
Kingdom, but yeah, right now Scotland doesn't have a king, but Britain does. Yeah.
Right. And Scotland doesn't have a prince or any royal seats or anything like that,
I
right?
don't think so. I don't think so. Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that's okay. So she finds out that she is Delaney's actually has some Scottish roots, right?
Um, no, I don't think so.
No. Okay.
Yeah,
When you
yeah.
say her Scottish family, you just mean the bookstore
Oh,
family.
I'm sorry. Her
Okay.
Scottish
Yeah, I was
family, the
like, did
bookshop
I miss
people.
that?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. That is confusing. Yes. No, she calls the people she works with, her Scottish family.
All right,
Yes.
got it.
Yes.
And then
Yeah.
Karen's asking, did you make it to Scotland's largest secondhand bookshop called Leakeys in Iverness? It's
I
very
did
Harry
not.
Potter.
I have not made it to Inverness. I've been wanting to go back to Scotland. In fact, we were going to go back in 2020, but then we all know what
Oh,
happened in
yeah.
2020. So since then, things have just, gone all different directions. But I mean, nothing bad, but I haven't made it back. But Inverness and Glasgow are two places I really still want to go. I mean, there's so much more to see. There's so much more.
Yeah, who knew that we had so many Scotland bookstore fans on this site? I didn't even know, like, until you told me that, I didn't even know they had bookstores. I feel like they're like dying everywhere, right? The bookstores.
Oh, you do kind of feel like that, but they feel pretty strong. Well, at least they did back when I went. I hope they're still doing well. They're fabulous. They're the most charming places in the world. The bookshops are just fabulous there. I love them.
Yeah. So Edinburgh, Scotland, is there a favorite place that you really loved when you were there? And like, you're just planning to visit all of Scotland when you go back again?
Well, I'd like to visit all. I'd like to go back to Edinburgh. Grassmarket is the area in Edinburgh where I set the bookshop. And
Mhm.
when we first went over, I knew nothing about Edinburgh. I knew nothing about Grassmarket, but we got hotel rooms in the Grassmarket.
Mhm.
And so one of the first things I wanted to figure out was, where am I going to set this bookshop? I mean, obviously it's a fictional series, but I need something a little bit real Edinburgh. And it almost fell right into my lap. For whatever reason, I picked the perfect spot to get the rooms. And just down the road is where the bookshop was located. So
Mhm.
um, I would love to go back and see Grassmarket again and see if that bookshop is still there, with the scales,
Mhm.
and go to other bookshops. But there is so much more of Scotland I would love to see. I can't believe I haven't been to Inverness yet, as was mentioned before, and I really do want to go to Glasgow. I also would like to see Ireland on that same trip. So I need to make it a big
Mhm.
thing. But yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot more of Scotland I want to see.
Well,
Yeah.
I can't believe we have so many Scottish like experts here
I,
today.
if I say anything incorrect, chime in, experts, please. Yes.
So, well, okay, so let's talk about Delaney. So, how much is
Okay.
Delaney like you?
That's so funny because every character we write is a little bit like us or like something we want to be.
Mhm.
Sometimes I don't really see myself through Delaney. I see a lot of boldness that I maybe wish I would have had when I was younger. I mean, it was very bold for her to pick up and take off and start this
Mhm.
new adventure in Scotland. And I did some of that too. I moved around a lot, and after college, moved to a different place, but it was all here within the United States. So maybe a little bit about the adventuresomeness is about me, but I think she's a little bit of what I would aspire to be if I had another path I could also take. I like the path I've taken, but sometimes you feel like, I'd like to try that too. So I think she's
Mhm.
a little bit of that.
Okay, great. And so, what do you really like about this character, and what are you thinking might grow and change over the next few books?
Oh, I think she's constantly growing and changing. I think her oddly her growth is becoming in the way she investigates murder. She's an amateur sleuth, but she's
Mhm.
becoming more careful, and I think that's important. Part of the series is something called her bookish voices. So it's her intuition. It's not a paranormal feature. It's her intuition that speaks to her and
Mhm.
speaks to her as if a quote from a book. A quote from a book will come to her, and it's her intuition talking to her. So, for instance, in The Poison Pen, all of the bookish voices that she hears are the Queen Elizabeth II's quotes from her.
Mhm.
So, I think the bookish voices are going to continue to grow a little more. And I've actually felt like maybe they might slip away because she's starting to trust her intuition more. That's how I kind of see her growth over the next bit.
Hmm. All right, great. And so, how does Tom feel about her amateur sleuthing?
Well, Tom is a very smart man, and Tom is frequently says this feels like a trick question. If she asks, he's like, I want you. He's often, I want you to do what you want to do, but I
Mhm.
want you to be careful. So he's a very smart man, and he's not in any way. When he met her, she was already investigating a murder, and so I think he knows what he was getting into.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
And so it seems to me, and again, I'm a little behind in the series, but like
that's okay.
everybody at the bookstore is her sidekick, right? She doesn't have like
E-
one designated person.
Right, you are correct. Everybody kind of takes their turn depending
Mhm.
upon which book it is, and they take more than one turn. I mean, like I said, Tom will play a much more predominant role in next year's book, but in this year's book, Elias played a pretty big role. And sometimes Edwin does. Hamlet played a very big role in The Burning Pages, which was, I think, 2 books back. So
Mhm.
it just, it changes with each one.
All right. Very cool. So can you tell us what your writing plans are for 2024?
For this year, so let's see, I have the final Alaska series book will be coming out in December. That
Mhm.
is currently getting wrapped up. And then I have been spending a big part of the first part of this year working on next year's Scottish book.
Okay.
Then after that, I'm not exactly sure what's on the docket from there. Maybe some different things and some different avenues I'm looking at. But the Scottish will definitely be next year.
Okay. Can we segue and can you give us a little information about the Alaskan mysteries?
Oh, sure, absolutely. So the Alaska is a little more suspense, a
Mhm.
little less cozy. There is language, there is some gore on the page, but at the same time, it's not too graphic.
Mhm.
That one is Beth Rivers is actually a thriller writer. She
Mhm.
lives in St. Louis and she's kidnapped and taken and held in a van for 3 days. She escapes the van, but her kidnapper also escapes. So while he's out looking for her after she has brain surgery, she runs away from the hospital and runs away to Alaska to go into hiding until he's
Mm.
caught. So he's not caught immediately. So up in Alaska, she's in the middle of nowhere, which is a place called Benedict, Alaska, which is not real, but based upon a real city called Gustavus, which you can get to by ferry from
Mhm.
Juneau. So it's very out in the middle of the nowhere, and I did visit there as well and got to write that trip off too. But anyway, so she's in Benedict, and she has her Benedict family there, and there she also solves murders as well as things happen to the way her kidnapper is found, and or not found, or what
Mhm.
happens to him over the series. And this last book will probably tie that up pretty well with what happens to him
Oh, this is going to be the last book in the series.
of the Alaska series.
Okay.
Yes, yeah,
All
yeah.
right. Well, maybe can you give us, I know we asked more, can you give us a lay of the land of all the books that you have, all the series you have?
Sure. Oh, absolutely. So we've talked about Alaska and we've talked about Scotland.
Hmm.
There are three other earlier series. The first series was the Farmers Market Cozy Mysteries, which started with Farm Fresh Murder. And I think
Hmm.
there are six of those. Then I did a cooking school mystery, which is a haunted cooking school. It's actually paranormal and it has ghosts. And that takes place out in the middle of the Missouri woods, and it's in a performance town, very much like Tombstone, Arizona, an old West
Hmm.
performance town. And so that old West, even though it's in Missouri, brings back, some ghosts that need their problem solved. I believe that's a 5-book series. And then after that, there is a typewriter series. It's called, oh my goodness, a dangerous type series,
Hmm.
and the first one of that is To Helvetica and Back,
Oh, yes,
and
I read that. Yeah.
oh, thank you. Then there are three of those. Yeah,
Hmm.
I think I've covered it all. I think I got them all in there.
All
Yeah.
right, perfect. And let's see, she's saying, I'm from Glasgow, but live along the seacoast. The ferry runs across to Ireland. Half my family is from Ireland also. All
Oh,
right.
very nice, very fun.
So regarding Scots and Brits, it's a long going fuel, like
Yeah,
sports teams.
yeah.
Feud.
Oh
I think
yes.
it's meant feud, not fuel. Um,
Yeah.
so I guess really what we should ask you is for your future writing plans, like what country do you want to visit? Because it sounds like for right
Ooh,
off, that's where
that's a
your
great
yours will
idea.
be.
What next trip am I going to write on?
Right.
What I would love to do more than anything, which is just not feasible at the moment, but I would
Mhm.
love to go to Egypt. I have
Oh,
wanted to
yes.
see Egypt forever, forever and
Pyramids.
ever and ever. And I really think I would be compelled to want to write something,
Mhm.
if I could really get a look at everything and a good feel for everything. Obviously, it's probably not the best time to be going to Egypt, so that's not going to happen. But the other place I would also love to visit, although I'm not sure I want to write about it because I'm not sure I could do it justice, is Japan. I'd like to go to
Oh,
Japan.
okay.
So Egypt and Japan are my two, hopefully someday travel to things. Ireland too. Ireland, of course, but I'd
Mhm.
like to mix that in with Scotland.
Yeah. Yeah. We've
Yeah,
already
yeah.
done the United Kingdom.
Yes,
We should
that's
give
right.
other continents a chance.
There you go. There you go.
Very
Yeah.
fun. All right.
Yeah.
Well, where can readers find you if they want to connect with you?
Well, my website is
Mhm.
paigeshelton.com. So from there, you can connect with me on Facebook or Instagram. That's really the only social media I do. I have an author Paige Shelton site on Facebook, and then on
Mhm.
Instagram it's Paige Books, Paige Books. So
Okay.
that's it. That's really all I do. I don't do. I couldn't keep up with the Twitter threads, and BookTok
TikTok.
terrifies me.
Yeah.
TikTok's
Yeah.
TikTok scares me. I can't even begin. Yeah.
And I forgot to ask, I never asked this, but are you doing any in-person signing events this year or next?
I I am. There is in on May 5th here in Arizona at the Poison Pen bookstore. It is a group of authors are on that day. I think they're calling it a Cozy Palooza or a Cozy Con or something,
Mhm.
but that is the day I'll be there with 3 or 4 other authors. Check
Oh,
thepoisonpen.com if you'd like to see what other authors will be there, and we'll be signing and doing a little talk there. The Poison Pen bookstore is absolutely fabulous. My local independent bookstore, and they are so supportive of all authors, and I'm grateful to have them in my neighborhood.
yeah, they must love you. You're writing about bookstores.
Well, they love everybody. They're very good at that. They're very good at sharing the love. They're just wonderful.
Very
Mhm.
cool. All
Yeah.
right. Well, thank you so much for being on and answering all of my ad hoc extra questions. Like, I think
Well,
it was
thank
helpful to
you.
everyone.
Thank you. This is fabulous. I really enjoyed being here, and thank you to all your watchers and listeners.
Yeah. So I will leave Paige's links below, and we hope everyone's having